This is Dolynny TV. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to some discussion on some potential trades as we have another quiet day on the Oilers front. Of course, waiting for the NHL Combine to kick things off for another summer of, continued speculation as we've had so far. However, today I want to take a look at a situation again. I know I've banged on about this saying we need to trade the 8th overall pick. We need to trade the 8th overall pick. And the reason being is no matter whether you draft defense, goaltending, or a forward with the 8th overall pick, you're not solving anything for next year. And I understand the argument, well, that's why the Oilers have gotten into so much trouble trading picks and all that. And the first thing that comes to mind when somebody says that to me is the Matthew Barzal trade. Well, if that's where you're going with the Oilers getting into trouble when they trade first round picks, hold on a sec. Because what I'm going to tell you, no way in any hope in heck should we believe that Peter Chiarelli would have picked Matthew Barzal. That's out the window. So with that ahead, and with Ken Holland being a GM who's now showing that he has a little bit of a knack for making a couple of smart moves in terms of Joseph Gambardella and hiring a coach that is basically a show and prove coach, just like anybody needed to be, but Dave Tippett's about as perfect of a show and prove coach as he could have found. Well, here we go. We start talking again on the trade front. And this one, I know I'm going to take heat again, because why in the heck would the Flyers ever do such a thing? However, you know what? Maybe for the right package, and that's what I'm trying to propose here, you do it right, because for the Flyers, they might want to upgrade in a couple different ways from what I'm looking at on Cap Friendly. I mean, they have to go out and sign 5 forwards to hit a minimum of 12 on the forward core right now as it is. So they'll probably go sign 5 or 6 guys. You'll have your guys coming up from junior and from the AHL, so maybe only 5. Let's say 5 forwards. They realistically only need to sign 1 defenseman, and they need to find a backup. The thing here, the reason why I target the Philadelphia Flyers is the simple fact they've got $33 million in cap space to sign 8 guys. So you realistically think about their top guys that they've got under contract next year. Claude Giroux, Jakub Voracek, James Van Riemsdyk, Sean Couturier, Michael Raffl, Nolan Patrick, Oscar Lindblom. Well, right there, you've got a top 6. You've got a top 6 between those guys, so you don't have to worry about finding a top 6 winger like the Oilers do. Obviously, now you're going to see which name I'm trying to get to on this list here, but right, there's a lot to be said about what could be done for Philly building a roster next year, and that's where we get to fan favorite in Travis Konecny. Travis Konecny, a kid who's 22 years old. He's played a couple of years in the NHL now, so he's gotten that little bit of experience under his belt. And you see he's played 70 games in 16-17, 28 points, 70 games played, 47 points in 81 games played, and 49 points in all 82 games played in 18-19 this past season. Obviously, like I said, fan favorite in Philly from everything I can find. I actually tried to do a little bit of research so as I don't take as much of a beating. However, if you made it this far and you haven't commented something about that, thank you. I really don't appreciate the beatings I've taken for certain ones where I've already stated such a thing early on. Let's get to what I'm getting at here. So, I came out with a number that I used to kind of compare players and slot them into production on the Oilers. Well, you look at a top 6 forward, which Konecny is by the last 2 seasons of his numbers, right? He's that perfect winger for Nuge we're looking for. I don't mean just scoring-wise. He's a guy who's not afraid to drop the gloves from what I've seen online in this past little half hour researching him. Basically, he fought Jordan Eberle this past spring, but what that counts for, I'm not too sure. But you know where I'm going with that, right? It's any time a guy's willing to drop the gloves nowadays, hands off, let's go. So, Konecny is a career points per game player of a .53 average. That gives you an 82 career production average, 82 game career production average, 82 CPA of 43.5 when it comes to Travis Konecny over an 82-game season in the NHL for the first 3 years of his career. Now, I've already gone through and reviewed the stats, right? Going from 20-something points to 40, 40, 47, 49 the past 2 years. Well, 24 goals back-to-back years. That's his goal totals for 17, 18, and 18, 19. So right there, you've got some great goal scoring. And then you've got the fact that he's 22 years old and still has tremendous upside to not only be Nuge's winger, but be a guy who could be a force on a line with McDavid and Draisaitl if that's how he's deployed. Obviously, I look at the Oilers not necessarily needing a winger for Draisaitl and McDavid. Those two alone make up for 3 guys on the ice kind of deal. That's the way it went all last year. That's the way it went in the playoff year at times. That's just the way it works with those two magical hockey players on the ice together. So he's got great upside, does Konecny, in the top 6. And I mean, yes, okay, I'll go back to the point. He's really loved in Philly, but for the right package, any hockey player can be moved. And my suggestion is, back to saying that we need to trade that 8th overall pick, is you take the 8th overall pick, you take the rights or the contract that is Jesse Puljujarvi, and you say here, essentially you're giving the Flyers a top 10 pick when they've already got so many draft picks this draft. I think they would actually, if you give them another draft pick this draft, they would have 11 picks in 7 rounds. That's absolutely unreal. 2 firsts, 2 thirds, 2 sixths, and 2 sevenths. That's a lot that they can do to flip things around for next year. You think about those thirds, you think about flipping their second. Well, suddenly, you guys have a lot to think about there in Philly land just with that proposal right there. Jesse Puljujarvi, a guy who just needs to go out there and show and prove. That, I think, is the big thing this offseason for anybody involved in the Oilers organization, is the term show and prove. Because for him, he's looking for that breakout year that still hasn't come. And I don't know if it's going to come in Edmonton. So if you're Ken Holland and you're willing to move on, get a core piece for a package, well, right there, that would be fine and dandy. Now, obviously, with all that cap space, I would like to try, if you're Ken Holland, this is not a must. If you are Ken Holland, I would like to try to go out and get rid of Sekera or Lucic in the deal. Lucic obviously kind of fits the Broad Street Bullies mentality that is the Philadelphia Flyers at times throughout their history. Or you get Andrej Sekera, who could be a bit of an upgrade over a guy like David Schlemko in their top 6 on the D. And I mean, yeah, okay, that's a long ask, especially considering really the big value piece here is the 8th overall pick and Jesse Puljujarvi for a guy who's almost scored 50 points back-to-back seasons. I understand where you get at the kind of difficulties about it, but honestly, I would straight up offer the first rounder and Jesse Puljujarvi. That's where you go first straight away. And then you start trying to build a little bit more of a package. This is just a starting ground. I think it's great grounds for discussion, and that's where I'm going to turn it over to you guys in a second. Because for a guy like Travis Konecny on the Oilers, you slot him in for an 8th overall pick in Jesse Puljujarvi beside Nuge, who had a career year. You give Nuge an actual winger who plays hard, can score goals, and get the job done. While you consider what Lucic did alongside Nuge at times this year, you consider what a guy like Alex Chiasson did alongside Nuge at times this year, you start turning the butter a little bit, and suddenly you guys have yourselves, here in Oilers land, we have ourselves a guy who can get 60 points on the wing on the second line. It's been a lot of years since we had that consistently. And Travis Konecny at 22 years old, in need of a contract. That's my last point. He is in need of a contract. And you think about this, Travis Konecny coming off his entry-level contract, scoring 40 points, you probably lock him up for about $4.25 million. Well, $4.25 million, obviously, yeah, you're going to have to pay Jesse Puljujarvi about $1.75 million. So what are you left with? About $2.5. The Oilers can afford $2.5 million for a second line right or left winger at this point of the year. Of course, you now have Joakim Nygard in the mix too, and Joseph Gambardella, Logan Day, Olivier Rodriguez. We've added some contracts, but the fact is we can make this work if you give an 8th overall pick and, of course, Jesse Puljujarvi in the package. Lucic Sekera, man, if you can get the Philly GM to take it, run, leave town. You're happy you just won the Stanley Cup kind of deal. Guys, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. What are your thoughts? Am I anywhere close? Philly fans, let me know. Am I anywhere close to what you'd expect for Travis Konecny? Or are you guys sold 100%? This is the guy. This is the guy after Jakub Voracek and after Claude Giroux. Let me know in the comments section down below. As always, guys, I will catch you in the next one.